7 true scary stories where dreams read into reality. Some say dreams are just the mind's way of processing reality. But what happens when your dreams start showing you things that haven't happened yet? And worse, what if they start coming true? Story 1. Where dreams read into reality. This is a true story about a woman whose nightmares became reality, piece by piece, until it all led to something she could neither escape nor explain. Part 1. The first dream. In the winter of 2013, a 29-year-old woman named Vanessa moved to a small town in upstate New York, where everyone knew everyone. Vanessa had just broken up with her and needed space. She rented a tiny farmhouse miles outside town, no neighbors, no distractions, just peace. In the winter of 2013, a 29-year-old woman named Vanessa moved to a small town in upstate New York. At first, she loved it. Long walks in the snow, silence, the distant call of coyotes at night. But about 3 weeks in, she had a dream. In the dream, she was walking through her house, except the walls were different. Peeling wallpaper, water damage, strange symbols carved into the wood. She had a dream. In the dream, she was walking through her house, except the walls were different. She walked into her bedroom and saw a woman standing in the corner. Long black hair, a white nightgown soaked in red. The woman pointed to the window and whispered something. Vanessa couldn't understand until she woke up. That morning, Vanessa brushed it off. Probably stress. Maybe too many horror movies. But what unsettled her was this. When she opened her bedroom curtains that morning, there was something outside. A single handprint on the glass. From the outside, small, delicate, like a child's. Part 2. Patterns in the dream. Over the next 2 weeks, the dreams got worse. They always started the same. She'd walk through her house, but it was wrong. Rotting mold on the ceiling. A low, humming noise, like a refrigerator but deeper. And always, that same woman, closer every time. One night she finally understood what the woman was saying. It was a whisper, barely audible. He's in the walls. Vanessa told a friend from town, Kelly, who thought maybe she was dealing with sleep paralysis. But Vanessa was adamant she wasn't frozen. She could move. She could feel. One morning, after a particularly intense dream, she noticed something else. A spot on the floor in the hallway. Wet. When she touched it, it smelled like iron, like blood. Thought maybe a pipe was leaking, but later that day she got a call from her landlord. "Hey," he said. "Just checking in. You haven't had any strange smells in the house, have you? We had a problem years ago with mold in the walls." Vanessa paused. What kind of mold? They never figured it out. Some kind of black growth. But the last tenant, she got sick. Started hallucinating. Said the house was alive. Part 3. The history unfolds that night. Vanessa didn't sleep. She started digging into the property, the previous tenants, anything she could find. She discovered something deeply disturbing. In 1996, a woman named Eleanor lived in that same house. She was in her early 30s, a recluse, never married. She was reported missing in February. Police found no signs of forced entry, but neighbors said they saw strange lights in her windows 4 weeks before her disappearance, like flickering candles at 3 a.m. Some said they heard music, others, screams. Her body was never found. What was found was in the basement. Symbols carved into the walls. Burn marks. Animal bones. But here's the part that chilled Vanessa to the bone. When she saw Eleanor's photo in the newspaper archive, it was the woman from her dreams. Same black hair. Same eyes. Part 4. Dream becomes reality after that. The line between dreams and reality blurred completely. Vanessa would dream of things minor, things that would later happen. She dreamed her light bulb exploded while brushing her teeth. 2 days later, it did. She dreamed of a car accident on the snowy road by her house. That weekend, she passed the wreckage, but the worst dream came on a Wednesday night. In it, Vanessa was lying in bed, unable to move. The woman, Eleanor, was standing over her, blood dripping from her mouth. She leaned in close and whispered, "You let him in." Vanessa woke up screaming. Her nose was bleeding. But that wasn't the worst part. On the ceiling, above her bed, written in something red, were the words, "He's in the walls." She ran, didn't even pat, just grabbed her keys and drove to Kelly's place. Part 5. What was found? Kelly convinced Vanessa to call the police. They didn't believe the dream stuff, but when they inspected the house, they did find something. Behind the walls between the studs they found an old crawl space. And inside it, they found bones. Animal bones mostly. But among them, one human finger. DNA was inconclusive, but many believe it belonged to Eleanor. The house was condemned weeks later. Vanessa never returned, but for months afterward, she reported strange dreams. In one, she saw a shadowy figure staring at her from outside her window. In another, she was back in the house, but it wasn't abandoned, it was alive. To this day, Vanessa doesn't know if the house was haunted, cursed, or if she somehow opened a door through her dreams. But she knows one thing for certain. The woman in white, Eleanor, was trying to warn her. And sometimes, when Vanessa dreams, she still hears the whisper, "He's in the walls." Story 2. The Girl in the Red Room. John was a 22-year-old student living in New York. One night, he had a strange dream. He found himself inside a small room. The walls were red. The curtains, the floor, even the light, it all glowed with an eerie red hue. In the center of that room sat a girl with long black hair covering her face. She was facing away from him. She whispered something low, fast, almost like a chant. Rohan tried to move, tried to speak, but he couldn't. He woke up in a cold sweat. That would have been the end of it. Except the dream came back the next Thursday. Same room, same girl, same whisper. And then again, the following Thursday. On the fourth Thursday, the dream changed. This time, the girl turned around. Her eyes were hollow, her lips sewn shut with thick black thread. And this time, she didn't whisper, she screamed. John woke up gasping, terrified. He couldn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, his phone rang. His cousin Olivia had been found dead in her room, a room she had recently painted red. She was found sitting on the floor, back turned, mouth wide open, as if she had died mid. Story 3. The Man in the Corridor. Emma had just moved into a new apartment in California. It was an old building, but she loved the space and the quiet. Except from the very first night, something felt off. That night, she had a disturbing dream. In the dream, she would wake up to the sound of footsteps. The man in a long black coat walked slowly down her corridor. He would stop, turn toward her door, and knock 3 times. Every night, she dreamt the same thing. And every night, the man got closer. His steps grew slower. The knocking became louder. On the 30th night, she dreamt of him standing right outside her bedroom door. That night, she woke up suddenly. The clock read 3:03 a.m. There was silence until she heard it. 3 slow knocks. She froze, not daring to move, not even to breathe. She stayed under the covers until sunrise. When she finally gathered the courage to check the door, she found 3 deep scratches on it. No one else in the building had heard a thing. There was no security footage, nothing. Emma never spent another night in that apartment again. Story 4. The Dream That Warned Her. Luna was 19 and living a pretty normal life when the nightmares began. One night she had a terrifying dream. She was walking down a quiet road when a white van began following her. She turned into a narrow street, but the van sped up and hit her from behind. She woke up screaming. It felt too real. The same dream came again the next week. Same van. Same road. Same crash. She told her mother, who advised her to pray before bed. But the dream didn't stop. In fact, it only got clearer, sharper. One morning, she left for university as usual. While crossing the street, she saw the exact same white van from her dream. It had the same dent in the front bumper, the same blacked-out windows, heart pounding. Sana turned around and went straight back home. That afternoon, her friend called her in tears. A van had rammed into a bus stop just outside the university gate. 2 students had been killed. One of them was standing exactly where Sana usually waited every morning. Story 5. The Mirror Dream. Mia had always kept a small vintage mirror by her bedside, an old family heirloom passed down through generations. One night, she dreamt she woke up and looked into that mirror, but instead of seeing her own reflection, she saw a woman in a wedding dress, staring blankly. Her eyes were sunken and lifeless. Blood trickled from her mouth as she whispered, "Don't look at me again." She woke up breathless and shaken. The next night, the dream returned. The same woman, the same mirror. But this time, the woman was closer, and she wasn't whispering anymore, she was screaming. Frightened, Mia took the mirror down the next morning and put it in the attic, hoping that would be the end of it. 2 days later, her mother received a letter. It was from a distant cousin they hadn't heard from in years. The letter brought tragic news. The cousin had passed away. In her wedding dress, after hanging herself in front of a mirror, the same mirror Mia had been dreaming about. Story 6. The Forest Path. William lived near a quiet forest in California. One night, he dreamt he was walking down a trail he had never seen before. The trees on either side were too tall, their leaves thick enough to block the moonlight. Everything around him was silent until he saw a shadow. A tall, thin man stood ahead. He had no face, just a black outline. Slowly, the man raised one hand and pointed toward a nearby tree. When William turned to look, he saw a freshly dug grave at its base. Carved into the bark was a name. William died July 3rd. He woke up in a panic. The date was June 29th. For 3 nights straight, he had the same dream. The same trail. The same faceless man. The same grave. The same date. On July 3rd, William stayed home. He locked the doors, turned off his phone, and avoided everything. When midnight passed, he felt relieved. But the next morning, news broke. A hiker had gone missing near the edge of the forest, on the very same trail William had seen in his dreams. And the missing man's name was also William. Story 7. The Hotel Door. While traveling through Turkey, Lucas stayed at a small mountain hotel. It was cozy and quiet, perfect for rest. But on the first night, he had a disturbing dream. In it, he stood outside room 209. He heard screaming from inside, and as he reached for the handle, he woke up. The next night, the same dream repeated. This time, he opened the door. Inside, he saw himself tied to a chair, mouth taped shut, and behind him, something dark and twisted whispered into his ear. Lucas woke up, drenched in sweat. He couldn't shake the image. Curious and afraid, he asked the hotel staff about room 209. They told him no one had stayed there for years. The room had been sealed off after a guest took their own life inside it. That night, unable to sleep, Lucas walked past room 209. The hallway was empty. He paused in front of the door, and then he heard it, whispering, his own voice. Thank you for watching. If you've ever had a dream that came true or something you can't explain, tell your story in the comments. You're not alone.